I'm Sandy Davis, and I first came to Byron United when Mark and John Ferguson invited me to come to hear the hymnathon that the choir was doing. I believe they were raising funds at that point for new choir gowns. So then Tom had me come out to the Christmas carol service a couple of times, and then I've just slowly started singing more and more with the choir. But my actual connection to Byron goes back a lot further than that. My great-great-grandfather was the Reverend Edward Holmes, your very first minister here. And a few years back, my cousins produced from his diaries a book called By Tallow Candle, and in it is excerpts of his days as a minister. And in particular, what I would like to read out to you is the account in here of Byron. And he says, I cannot refrain from giving an account of the building of our new church at Byron, near London, while I was on the Westminster or the Lambeth Circuit, to which Byron belonged. At that time of the terrible flood in London West, 1883, in which about 20 persons lost their lives, a Mr. Samuel Sissons lived near the bank of the river Thames at Byron. He and his wife and family were watching the water coming up to and inside their house. By and by a Bible floated in. His wife picked it up and said, Now, how is this? We have a Bible, but we've never read it. We never go to church to hear it read. And perhaps the good Lord has sent it to prevent us from living like heathens any longer. The incident certainly made a deep impression on their minds. I heard that he was in great distress about his soul and went to see him. I had intended some time previously to that to hold revival services at Byron, but we had no church, and the trustees of the schoolhouse where we held our services on the Sabbath were unwilling to let us use it for any special meetings. The following Sunday, however, at the close of the sermon, I told the congregation that I would like to hold revival meetings, but the trustees were unwilling to let us have the use of the schoolhouse. But, said I, will any of you let us have the meeting in your house? Yes, Mr. Holmes, said Mr. Samuel Sissons, you can have my house, and welcome. Very well then, I said, we will commence tomorrow night. When I arrived, the house was full of people, and as extra seats had been provided, we had a good start. Several were converted during the 2 weeks, and amongst them Mr. Sissons and his wife and 1 or 2 of his daughters. The idea of building a new church at once came to the front and was enthusiastically decided. The people responded liberally when called for cash, and a very suitable lot was secured, the contract let, and in due time we had a beautiful little church to worship in, and all paid for within a few dollars at the time of its dedication. Mr. Sissons worked with all his might from start to finish, and I have no hesitation in saying that it was largely owing to his influence that the top stone was put up with a shout of victory. And I find to this day that that is still very much a part of Byron here. When there's something to be done, you do it wholeheartedly.